got 100 on my dash, got 200 in my trunk. Name in the grab bags for my trunk. Like a
What's up, y'all? We back at it with another chapter of Ichi the Witch Hunt 53, man. Hey, look, I don't know why, but this chapter gave me Inuyasha vibes, man. It really felt like we was watching Inuyasha's father and his mother and how they were back in the day. I don't know, that's just the vibes I got from this chapter. I could be wrong. You know, let me know if y'all felt the same way. But one thing I will say for sure, the Oracle, I don't know how I feel about it after reading this chapter. And we're going to get to what I'm talking about in a little bit, man. But make sure you subscribe, hit the bell for all notifications, and let's get it. So the chapter starts off where you got Chrono, which is the Time Majik, and his wife or girlfriend or, you know, baby mom, whatever name you want to give her. You got them all preparing food for Ichi, Dez, Komugi, and Goku. So they're preparing food for them, and you got it where they're asking questions. They're asking like, yo, how did y'all meet one another? How did you get pregnant? Is it your kid? Like, they're asking all these different questions, and you got it where, you know, the wife of Chrono says like, yo, you know, I made you guys dishes made out of fish. That's what I specialize in. Obviously, they live on the water. And she goes to say, like, I'm going to introduce you to us. You know, her name is Minerva. And you got it where you got Chrono, which she calls her hubby. And you have it where our gang is just looking and they just feel like very surprised at what they're witnessing, what they're seeing. And you got it where Dez says, all right, let's talk business. Chrono, like, what is it you love most about, you know, his girlfriend? And you got it where it seems as if Dez is trying to investigate whether or not they're telling the truth or trying to pull some type of scam. You also got it with Goku saying like, yo, I'm curious about how you two met. Honestly, I'm curious about that as well. That's something I would like to know. You got it where your boy Ichi is like, yo, how are you feeling physically, referring to the pregnant woman. And then you got it with Komugi saying like, yo, how isn't it risky staying on this type of ship? And then you also got the Oracle saying like, yo, the big question is how the two of you were able to conceive a kid in the first place. And then Dez goes again by saying, I don't know, I think Chrono might be too shy to talk about that, because it seems as if your boy Chrono is a little, you know, just a little overwhelmed with all the questions that he's being asked. And of course you have it where the baby mother goes to say like she's sorry. Her hubby can be a bit bashful at times. And of course you got it where she says like, yo, he didn't mean to dump you guys into the ocean though. We apologize for that. And you have it where the wife goes to say, you're here to acquire my hubby, right? And then Dez replies saying, Chrono is a powerful magic and the Witch Association has wanted to acquire him for ages. You got it where she goes to say, we could use it in the fight against the world hater. So if you would allow us to take your trial, we'll really appreciate that. And then you have it where the wife, you know, she jumps in front of Chrono saying like, no, I love my hubby. I don't want anybody to take him from me. Besides, if he gets acquired, there's no telling what effect that might have on the baby. And I didn't even take the time out to think something like that. Like, if he was to get acquired, would it make the baby disappear? Would it erase the baby? There's so many questions when it comes to this situation right here. And that's what I said. It really makes me think of Inuyasha, this chapter in general. But you have it where she says, if you're still insist on acquiring him, you'll have to get through me. You have it where the wife puts on this armor. Even though she's pregnant, she's willing to fight for her hubby. And you got it where Dad says, this hunt just got very awkward. And then your boy Ichi comes and he comes to ask a question to Chrono. And I don't know, I just really love how Ichi doesn't seem any threatening presence from you. It seems like he's willing to hear you out. And he goes to ask his question like, yo, you know, Komugi, he goes to say, Komugi read all the reports on you to me. They say that, he says, this is a vicious stretch of ocean. Over 300 ships have sunk here and a lot of people died. Did you do that? Ichi asks him, and you see Ichi kind of have a serious face, and then you have it where Chrono says like, no, it wasn't me. Another magic lives in these seas. He is temperamental and he dislikes humanity, because he's twisted the currents to keep humans out. Then you have it where Ichi replies to him saying, so then you don't have any ill will towards us? And Chrono goes to say, I'm uninterested in humanity with the exception of my wife. And then you got it where he says, however, if anyone threatens my wife, or my child, I will not hesitate to kill them. And then you see where he has somewhat of a serious look on his face because protecting his family is all that matters to him. And then you got it where Ichi says, okay, that's fine, understood. And then Ichi says, the hunt is canceled. Goku looks at him like, yo, it is? He says, this magic has no hostility towards humans, and it doesn't seem to be prone to wanting to kill either. And you have it where he says he doesn't trigger death for death, meaning that Ichi isn't getting that vibe, that fight for survival while he's around. He's not feeling like his life is in danger, like it's a death for death situation. And then you got it where he says, and if he isn't a human hater, I don't see no reason to hunt him. And then you got Dad saying, fair. We knew all along it was a long shot going after this big target. We didn't expect to leave with you, and kicking up some big fight just seems unnecessary, like an unnecessary collateral damage. Ichi doesn't want to, then I'm okay with that, and so does Komugi. She agrees as well. And then Dad says, all right, now we're calling off the mission. I'll report that to the association. But then you got it what Dad says, but that aside, could you maybe let me know what your trial is? And then she says, never mind, I didn't say anything. When she was going to get that information at another point in time, she was going to come back and try to get his ass. I'm assuming that's what she meant by that. That's just the vibe I'm getting off of it. But then you got it where she says, there's a bigger issue we need to report on first. Never mind our mission. The major question right now is the baby. The Oracle says, yeah, how to get rid of the baby. And then Goku looks at her with this look like, yo, what did you just say? And I'm thinking the same thing. You got the Oracle saying like, what, did I say something weird? What's wrong with that? I mean, a half human, half magic baby, those totally shouldn't ever be born. It's never happened before. What if they turn out to be some crazy monster? And most of all, the whole idea is just gross. There's no way the world would celebrate the birth of a baby like that. And you have it where she's saying, and I'm just looking like, what? Now, I thought this was the Oracle, and maybe it is the Oracle, but she doesn't have the markings on her face like she did in the, the previous chapters where we seen her. But I'm gonna assume and say maybe it's just the Oracle and she didn't draw that stuff on her face. But either way, you have it where the wife of Chrono comes out of nowhere and smacks the hell out of the Oracle. And I'm not gonna lie, I was kind of happy she did it because the whole talk about the baby stuff, I was kind of getting mad myself. So when she smacked it, I was like, yes, do the shit again. But of course you got it where the mother says, like, even if 100 people hate my child and 1,000 people think they're disgusting, I'll still be glad that they were born. Man, such powerful words. She says, and I'll love them enough for 1,000,000 people because I'm their mom. And then you see the way Ichi is looking at her. It seems like that may have touched Ichi. And you got it where she says, you got it where the Oracle is saying, hey, I'm just telling the truth. Chrono looks and says, silence, everyone quiet. And you got it where he's looking up in the sky. We don't know what he's looking at. And then he looks at Dads and says, which, do you have a spell to hide your presence? Use it now. No one make a sound unless you all wish to die. And I'm looking like, yo, what's going on? Next thing you know, you hear Majik speaking out, saying, Chrono, hey, Chrono, you in there? It's me. Your best bud is here. And I got you a present too. So let me in, okay? And you see that it's the magic that they said was making these seas, unbearable or unsellable. And you see that he's showing up. His design look dope though. I really like it. It kind of looks like a mixture version of I can't think of her name, but the octopus lady from the Little Mermaid. I can't think of her name right now. But that's the vibe I'm getting. It just look a little different. It looks like he got 4 set of eyes, maybe even more than that. But we'll have to wait to see what happens in the next chapter. But all in all, man, very great chapter. Enjoyed it from start to finish. Let me know your thoughts on this one down below. And how do y'all feel about Chrono not actually being hunted anymore? Let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one, man. Peace.